Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Tuesday, January 30th, the Senior Bowl, the annual college all-star game. It is kicking off this week. We got measurements from the Senior Bowl yesterday, and yes, measurements are a big deal when it comes to the NFL draft, especially for the Jaguars' current general manager, Trent Baalke, who is not going anywhere, it seems. He's a guy that really values big, strong, fast. He's also looking for length. When you talk about offensive and defensive line, which are areas that the Jaguars are going to need to address this offseason, I think his threshold is right around 33 inches for the arm length. So you're talking about guys that have 33 plus inch arms, guys that greatly exceed that mark. Those are going to be the prospects that Baalke gets fired up about, right? So we're going to look at potential prospects from the Senior Bowl weigh-ins and measurements that could potentially be Baalke built. That could potentially be guys that Trent Baalke is looking to add to this Jaguars roster when it comes to the 2024 NFL draft. I'm excited about the Senior Bowl. I'm not always looking for the exact same things that Trent Baalke is looking for. We'll see how it all plays out here. But for those of you out there that are like, why does length matter so much? It does, especially in the trenches. Now, it does not determine if you're going to be a good or bad NFL player, right? But it helps you if you have good length. If you have great length and you know how to use it, you're able to keep your opponent off your chest plate. You're able to keep your opponent away from your frame, and you're able to weaponize those hands. I think that can absolutely be a very good thing. It can be something that helps you tremendously at the NFL level. Again, though, it is not the end-all be-all when it comes to scouting prospects in the trenches or on the outside. But we know the Jaguars have to address the lines of scrimmage this offseason, whether they do that in free agency, the draft, both. We're going to be looking at some Senior Bowlers that I do think Trent Baalke would fancy. We'll also look at some guys that probably don't meet his thresholds that I kind of like and wish that the thresholds would go by the wayside at times just because you've got damn good players that don't meet them. So again, Senior Bowl measurements were yesterday. Let's dive into it here. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And also check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear. The hat I'm wearing right now, we've got limited supply, just dropped this morning over at genjag.com/shop. Go check it out. Really appreciate y'all. So let's dive into, we'll start with trench play, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and then we'll also look at some wide receivers and corners potentially that the Jaguars could fancy. I don't necessarily think that the Jaguars are going to be heavy on the safety class this year or linebackers, although we all know Trent Baalke loves off-ball linebackers. But when you look at what they have on their roster, to me, it just does not make a lot of sense to be focused on linebacker, but you never know. I said that last year too, and they came out of the fourth round with an injured linebacker out of the University of Florida. So I'm not going to be focusing on linebackers today. You can if you want, but let's start with these offensive linemen and defensive linemen, work our way through it. We'll look at some wide receivers and corners as well, because I do think that the Jaguars need to be in on wide receiver and corner this offseason as well. So offensive tackle Patrick Paul out of Houston. He is 6'7", 333 pounds, over 36 and a quarter arms. 36-inch arms are extremely rare. Like throughout NFL draft history, extremely rare. So this guy has vines for arms. He is a massive human being out of Houston. And you look at the stats, I mean, he dominated at Houston. But the issue is he is extremely sloppy with his footwork. I don't think he bends super well. I just think that this is an unrefined player who dominated a lower level of competition thanks to his, physical dominance. Thanks to the fact that he is bigger and stronger and has longer arms than everyone he went against. But when you talk about the footwork, the hand placement, the coordination, the pass set consistency, it's just not there for Patrick Paul. So this is a guy that I think Trent Baalke might get fired up about that I would not be nearly as excited about. Like I see that he is projected by some to be a first-round prospect. I would be looking at him more end of day 3, probably really end of day 2, end of the third round into the 4th, 5th round, just because I don't see the level of technical prowess that I think you need to succeed at the NFL level. But the physical elements of his game, they are there, no doubt about it. Defensive lineman Miles Cole, another 36-inch arm prospect. out of Texas Tech. He's 6'5", 272, 36 and a quarter arms, over 36 and a quarter arms. I mean, another guy that Trent Baalke's probably salivating over. DL Darius Robinson. He played edge at Missouri. I think he can really move around the formation for you at the next level, do different things for you. 6'5", 286 pounds. I've talked about him a lot. I already did a scouting video for him over on Rogue Football. If you're interested in more scouting reports and draft deep dives, go over, check out the Rogue Football channel here on YouTube. Arms over 34 and a half inches for Darius Robinson. He's strong. He's got length. He knows how to weaponize his hands. He knows how to keep offensive linemen away from his chest plate. This is a guy out of Missouri that I think should definitely be a day 2 prospect. I currently have him in the 2nd round. I think that it's possible he slides to the 3rd round, but I also think it's possible he does get drafted in the 2nd round because the tape is good. He's good as a run defender. He can pass rush as well. I think you have positional versatility up front when you have a defensive front that likes to switch looks up, a multi-front defense. Darius Robinson can fit that and fit it very well and do a lot of different things for you up front. So I think he's a guy that could be a riser. I know more people are getting eyes on him. Offensive tackle Kingsley Suamatia out of BYU. He is 6'4", 329 pounds, a big boy, 34 and a quarter arms. This is a guy that, incredible athlete, incredible size, great length. I like him more than a Patrick Paul, certainly, but I still think that there's a lot of question marks that I need to have answered before I feel comfortable. This is another prospect that some people are mocking in the 1st round. I'm not anywhere close to that. Edge Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon. This is a player who did move around the formation, the front for the Oregon Ducks a lot. He's 6'3", has over 33 and a quarter inch arms. He's 272 pounds, which is lighter than what he was listed at Oregon, which to me signals that he's probably focusing on playing edge at the next level. That's a big edge right there. That's a guy that on the edge, I think can absolutely play the run for you. I really like his pass rush toolbox as well. He's a guy that I think could fit. And you have seen Trent Baalke go to the Oregon well more than once as a drafter back in San Francisco with these defensive linemen. Adisa Isaac, he's a different type of edge. He's 6'4", 250, but he has over 33 and 3/4 arms. A guy that is more in that Arden Key mold. A guy that I think could be a 3rd edge for the Jaguars. The thing about him, he's a very good athlete, has good length, really a better base down skill set in terms of what he brings to the table right now. A guy that's really good against the run, sets the edge hard, even though he's only 250 pounds, has the athleticism to develop into a good pass rusher, but right now just does not have the pass rush plan or the pass rush toolbox in terms of the move set to really come in and be an instant impact, like designated pass rusher type. So an interesting projection for him, but he certainly has the length, the athleticism, and probably the desired play mentality that Trent Baalke would be looking for. Offensive lineman Brandon Coleman out of TCU. He played tackle for them a lot, did play some guard for them as well. I project him inside because I just don't think he has the foot quickness, the athleticism, the ability to mirror movements on an island at tackle. So I project him inside to guard. He's 6'4", 316 pounds, over 34 and a quarter arms. He's got really long arms, big hands. Again, I have him at guard, probably early day 3, 4th, 5th round. Type of range for him. Offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. You've seen a lot of people compare him to Anton Harrison, probably just because they wear the same helmet in college. But he is 6'7", 328 pounds. These guys are not similar at all in terms of their frame, right? In terms of their build. He has over 34 and a quarter arms, though. He's a big athlete. He's raw, unrefined. I look at him as a day 2 prospect. I know a lot of people are saying he's going to go in the 1st round, and he very well might, because you just don't see guys with that type of length that are 6'7" and 328 pounds that move the way Tyler Guyton does, but just very inconsistent with his assignments, doesn't always know how to use his hands, where to put them, and how to execute at a high level, both in pass protection and as a run blocker for me. Ethan Driscoll out of Marshall, someone I have not watched, but has over 35-inch arms, played offensive tackle for them. He's 6'8", 312 pounds. So at 6'8", 312, that is a little light, right? When you're 6'8" and you're only 312 pounds at tackle, you're probably going to want to add more mass when you get to the NFL level. Offensive tackle Talise Fuaga. This is someone that I know a lot of people are fired up about. I have a first round grade on him. I personally do think he can play tackle. I would much rather see him at guard, though, because I think he can be a decent starting tackle. I think he could be an all pro guard. He's 6'6, 332 pounds, almost 33.5-inch arms, big hands. The reason I project him inside to guard a lot better than tackle is because I think the feet are a little bit slow. I don't think that the feet are elite. I think that there's times when you see him go up against these really athletic, nuanced edge rushers that they're able to either beat him to the landmark or cross his face and get inside. And I think both of those things can be problems at the next level. Again, not problems that prohibit him from being a pretty good tackle, but problems that would be not nearly as evident if you kicked him inside to guard, where he can just dominate as a run blocker and not have as much ground to cover as a pass protector. Offensive tackle / offensive guard Ladarius Henderson out of Michigan, 6'4", 309, has 33 3/4 arms. I think Trent Baalke will be looking at that, even though he has not liked Michigan men. Has the feud with Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh's going off to coach for the Chargers now, though, so we'll see how that plays out. Christian Haynes is an interesting one at guard for me, maybe center, 6'2.5", so a little short, right? But has nearly 34-inch arms. So I think that he could be bulky built, a guy that has unbelievable proportional length, right? 34-inch arms at 6'2.5" is rare. So that could be bulky built. You've also got tackle guard Dominique Pooney, could be a fit at 6'4", 323 pounds, out of Kansas, nearly 33 3/4 arms. So another guy that I think could be a fit for Trent Baalke. Got a couple receivers and corners too that we're going to look at here. Trent Baalke has not been as strict as with the arm length threshold on the outside when you talk about wide receivers and corners, but he has mostly drafted big wide receivers when he's tried to draft wide receivers. Not often. And the Jaguars will probably want some longer corners with their new defense, right? They're going to play a lot of press man, it looks like. So you need to have some length, some physicality out there. But looking at these wide receivers, I think Brendan Rice kind of fits what the Jaguars would probably be looking for. Jerry Rice's son, almost 33-inch arms, very good overall size. He's 6'1", close to 210 pounds. So this is a guy and has good athleticism that I think Trent Baalke could be interested in. Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint has over 33-inch arms out of Georgia, over 6 feet tall, over 200 pounds. Another guy late round probably that could be an interesting fit. Johnny Wilson out of Florida State, I mean, I have to talk about him. I think he's too big to play wide receiver, quite frankly. But he has insane length, 35-inch arms. He's 6'6". He's 237 pounds. He's a crazy prospect. I just don't know how to project him. Cornerback Max Melton, a little shorter at 5'11", but he has 32-inch arms, which is really long, again, for the proportional length. A guy that I have watched a lot. His brother's already in the NFL at wide receiver, Bo Melton. We'll see how that plays out for him. Cornerback Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon, I have not watched yet, but he is 6'3", 203 pounds, 32-inch arms, a nice long wingspan. That's the type of guy that I think from all those perspectives, like the height, the weight, the arm length, the wingspan, Kyrie Jackson could make a lot of sense for this football team. Cam Hart from Notre Dame, he has 32.5-inch arms, very good for a corner. Safety Jalen Simpson, last guy we're going to bring up here in terms of potentially bulky built players from Auburn, has 32.25 arms. There are some guys I like, as I mentioned, that might not make the cut for Trent Baalke, but I think that they're fantastic prospects. Edge Latu has 32.5-inch arms, kind of the same range as Aiden Hutchinson last year, and the Jags passed on Aiden Hutchinson, I should say 2 years ago now. Jaguars passed on him with the first overall pick. He's been playing very good football for the Lions. Not knocking Trayvon Walker, but I do not think he should have been the first overall pick in that draft. Latu is the most advanced pass rusher in this class. He's got an unbelievable set of pass rush moves. He has super active hands. He is very bendy. He's a pretty good overall athlete, but just does not have the arm length that Trent Baalke is going to be looking for, in my opinion. So if he fell to the Jaguars, he does have a medical background, had to medically retire. If he fell to the Jaguars at 17, I do not think that they would pull the trigger on it. Offensive tackle / offensive lineman, Jordan Morgan, he played left tackle for Arizona. But Jordan Morgan, sub 33-inch arms at 32 3/4. That is not going to get the job done, in my opinion, for Trent Baalke. I still think that Morgan can play tackle. I definitely think he can play guard. A guy that was coming off of ACL in 2023 and still played lights out football for Arizona. A guy I like a lot when you talk about like early day two. Defensive lineman Braden Fisk, I've mocked to the Jaguars a lot. I really love his game. He has 31-inch arms. Probably not bulky built, unfortunately, but a guy that, brings all the energy and effort in the world, has a really nice little toolbox of pass rush moves on the interior. Center Jackson Powers Johnson, one of my favorite prospects in this class, just over 32-inch arms. You saw the Jaguars when they drafted Luke Fortner a couple years ago in the 3rd round. He has 33-inch arms, 33-plus-inch arms. So I don't know that will get the job done in terms of what Trent Baalke's looking for. Same thing with Zach Frazier, the center out of West Virginia, who will not participate in Senior Bowl contact because he had a broken leg 10 weeks ago that he had to get surgically repaired. But Zach Frazier, under 32.5-inch arms, another player who I love. I would love either of those guys in Jacksonville. Don't know that they will be bulky built. Xavier Legette, he was listed at 6'3". He came in at 6'1" out of South Carolina, wide receiver. Only 31.5-inch arms. And again, I don't know that Baalke's going to be as strict on the outside with these receiver prospects, but not very good proportional length, not great length overall. He absolutely has the athleticism, the size. I mean, he's 227 pounds, almost 230 pounds, but a guy that not quite as big in terms of the length and the height that you thought. A wide receiver, Javon Baker out of UCF, the last guy we're going to talk about. I love his tape. I mean, he transferred from Alabama. He was a 4-star recruit. He's 6'1". He's 208 pounds, I believe. Only 31.5-inch arms. Again, not sure that that's going to be prohibitive for Baalke, but gosh, I just love this guy and wanted to bring him up because at his size, which is very good, again, 6'1", almost 210 pounds, he has very good leaping ability, can go up and high point the football, contested catches. But my favorite thing about him is his twitch, his quickness, his ability to separate in a flash from defenders. I think that it's pretty rare at his size to see someone that can do that. So I think Javon Baker is a guy that is going to end up being a starting caliber receiver in the NFL. Hopefully the Jaguars wouldn't pass on him, just because of an arm length situation, but we'll see how it all plays out. Really appreciate y'all tuning in, just going through some of these Senior Bowlers, who I think is bulky built, who I think is probably not bulky built, guys that I liked that probably won't be the apple of Trent Baalke's eye. Again, really appreciate y'all. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Again, check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Limited supply is now available. Y'all have a good one.